Alright, today was pretty eventful. Uh, so I took 3 trades, 2 losses, 1 win. I don't think any of the trades that I took were particularly bad, but I definitely could have done a lot of things better. So first of all, let's go into it. So let me just hide these drawings here. So bear with me since I'm hiding all the drawings, but looking at NQ on the 1 hour before we went into the day, we were sort of around here, right? So in my mind, I guess I can't draw. Hold on. In my mind, I'm thinking this right here is all accumulation, and since we had big displacement up, we had an SMT at these lows at the time. I was thinking that we were going to run up, take out this high, and then possibly form AMD model to the downside. So I was pretty long biased going into the day. So let's see, going into here, first off, right when the market opened, there was a good opportunity that presented itself. So we had your seek and destroy model, where London takes out Asia low, Asia high, and then New York session we take out London highs, and then look where we went. Boom, London low. I mean, you can't tell me ICT concepts aren't real after this, It's just to the T. So what happened was, I'm not going to go back and forth, and you could go in your charts. We had an SMT sort of like here, then drop down, market wasn't open yet. We come back into OTE of this range, and then at market open we had SMT here, and then the only entry here where you had to be on like a smaller time frame, unless you just, I don't know, had some other sort of way of viewing this. Maybe you got short. I guess there was like this little volume imbalance here that got tapped into. I guess you probably could have shorted right off that. But looking at a smaller time frame, I mean, maybe you could have gotten short as we were coming back into and holding this inverse, or maybe you waited for the displacement to the downside and then took this fair value gap here. Let's say you took something like this London low, boom, straight shot, beautiful, like literally took like 2 minutes right to your TP. But anyway, I didn't take that. I wasn't even looking at the charts, because I was saying to myself, alright, I'm not going to be trading the first 15 minutes of the market. We had news at 10 o'clock, so I was just just going to sit out till then. But anyway, so zooming out a little bit, again, don't mind these drawings, but so this was London low. We also had this little 1 hour fair value gap. There was like a 15-minute fair value gap here too. So we ended up just wicking crazy off of that low, and I marked out the consequent encroachment of that 1 hour. So this is the center of that wick on the 1 hour. If you can see, here's the wick. I just marked out the center point using the fib. So yeah, we ended up bouncing to the upside. Then right here, I have the Fibonacci from this leg, so from the bounce off the London low to the high that we made. So we ended up coming into OTE of that range. Still no particular reason to take a trade just based off of that. But you know, looking to the left, like we had left equal highs here, right? We had highs up here, like all these little highs, and then on the way down here, like this low resistance liquidity is just beautiful. You know, it looks like this is just gonna get friggin' ran through. But anyway, we come down, literally tap consequent encroachment of that wick, and then just boom, just wick right off of it. And you know, we had this low here, this low, we had formed this little SMT here, we took out this sell side level, displacement to the upside, right? You have your little unicorn entry, 1 minute fair value gap. You know, we displaced through this bearish fair value gap with ease. This is your little breaker, the last down or up close candle before we took liquidity and then rallied through it. So this is your little unicorn setup, and just looking at this with all the low resistance liquidity to the left of us, I mean, this was like a no-brainer setup. You know, so I longed this right as we just started to wick off that 1 minute, went long, and it was pretty much, you know, I pretty much bottom ticked it, and we just, you know, expanded pretty easily. And the problem with this is we entered lunch hour, and then we just sort of slowed down here. Let's see if there was any sort of standard deviation projection. I think the standard deviation lined up sort of with these highs as well. Not great, but you know, I was expecting to see us, you know, maybe come down to this 1 minute fair value gap here and then bounce from there. But the mistake that I made is I should have definitely moved my stop loss to break even. You know, there's no reason why I should go red on this trade. Like zooming out, we had this big 5 minute fair value gap there. You know, I could see that, you know, this might become like low resistance liquidity here, to drop down into this 1 minute. And then zooming in here, this right here should have been when I moved my stop to break even. You know, if I wasn't going to move it before, this right here is when I should have moved it. So you have this 1 minute fair value gap, right? Let's zoom into the 15-second. So you have your little model here, right? You have these lows. You know, we bounce, come down, we take these lows. You have this bearish 15-second that we displace through, right? This is your little market structure shift to the upside. And then you have like a 15-second here. So, like, to be honest with you, if I was watching this, I might have even added a contract right here, because this, you know, looks like we're about to rip to the upside and continue. So right when this happened, I should have at least moved my stop to break even, or I should have moved my stop to this low or something like that, because after we formed this little buy model here, I know it's very zoomed in, but you know, you're holding this 1 minute, right? There's no reason that we should now come lower after this. We should definitely start to move to the upside now. But if you watch the video from yesterday, I was basically just, I didn't want to like miss out on the move, and yesterday I got stopped out at break even before the move eventually ended up happening. So I just kind of like, I guess subconsciously, I didn't want to see that happen again, and so I kept my stop here. and basically that failed, and we just instantly dumped straight line right to my stop loss. And I was kind of like, damn, what the hell just happened? I should have definitely moved my stop. So, but anyway, right, we come down, I get stopped out, and then what happens? Boom, displacement up. Like, this looks like, a model in its own right here, right? I thought I got stop hunted here, right? The stop gets taken, still holding the 1 hour wick. You have this low here. We form a lower low, so you take out the internal liquidity too. Bounce up, market structure shift, pull back, fair value gap. So I went long, and we ended up coming up, forming SMT at the highs here, and as we started dumping, I just closed my position right about this low here. I think it might have been right at here. As we started to hesitate here, and then we wicked off of this as inverse, I was like, alright, like, we're going back to this low. So I just closed my position. I think that was good. So, small loss here. It wasn't bad. It was like a $20 loss or something. And honestly, like, this looks pretty good. Like, I don't even know what to say. I think this is just, the market was just generating buy side just to go take later on in the day. But I think this setup looks beautiful. I mean, that low resistance liquidity looks so clean that you would expect at least we come up to this high. But with all these stacked highs and stuff, I just thought we were gonna rip. But anyway, we didn't. And so zooming back out a bit. So now let me remove this from my chart a bit. So that gets disrespected, right? All this gets disrespected. So now, looking at the 1 hour, right? This is your accumulation. This is your manipulation. And I'm expecting us to go take out these highs. So, maybe that's a trade for tomorrow. We got a little 1 hour, or not little, it was pretty big 1 hour. But, so the trade I ended up taking was, we came down, we wicked this. I think this probably could have been a good entry, but this is definitely your earliest entry here as we start to bounce off this 1 minute inverse. So then we had this 5 minute fair value gap, because looking at the 1 minute, that might be a bit too zoomed in. So I'm looking at the 5. Maybe we come back down, have another manipulation before going higher. Especially I was already down $50 on the day, so I didn't want to do something stupid. But we end up holding this. Technically still kind of holding this 1 minute here. The bodies are pretty much staying in there as well. And we just could not get below this inverse. We were just holding it. So the entry that I ended up taking was, we sort of came down, right? And we're taking out all these lows, and we're starting to form this little internal buy model. So I'm trying to like overlap the models here, to try to get a good entry, right? So, you come down, you take this low, right? You have this bearish 30-second that you end up holding, right? That could have been an entry, but I'm on the 1 minute, and we had this 1 minute fair value gap here as we displaced up. I had a limit here, so this was another mistake that I made. I had a limit order here, and this was my trade. 10-point stop, right? Like this is, you would have literally bottom ticked this. I mean, this came in 2 ticks and bounced. That would have been, zero drawdown trade. But what I ended up doing, this was like a FOMO thing. I was like, oh, the AMD model, like it looks so clean. Like, oh, we're starting to displace up. And we had this inverse 1 minute. So this 1 minute fair value gap here. At this point in time, so I had my limit here, and I zoomed in, and I see that we're starting to like bounce out of this inverse. And I don't think this is like the worst trade, this is the worst entry, because like, who knows, we could have just bounced right from here and never filled that. But I pretty much ended up getting long. We filled this 15-second like to the tick. I mean, flawless, right? Look at that wick. The body closes above, like literally perfect. So as we bounced, I longed. So I don't think it's like that bad. And then we ended up coming in to that 1 minute and having, the real entry there. So not the best entry, but the model itself was good, and I, in this scenario itself, I had a wide enough stop to be good. So taking the standard deviation projection here and just looking at like being zoomed out a little bit, you expect that if this is truly accumulation, manipulation, and then this is going to be distribution, I expect us to take this high. And then, I mean, look at all the stacked highs here. You got relative equal highs here, at this high, these highs, all of these, this high, these equal highs, like so much buy side resting above here that you expect this is going to get taken. So what I wanted to see get taken were these equal highs, and the reason why I chose these equal highs was because of the standard deviation projection. This is the 4 pretty much lined up with these equal highs here, but we ended up taking the lunch high and then pretty much just sort of like chopping the rest of the day. And at this point in time, we had this 5-minute fair value gap here. So zooming in, we had this 5-minute right here. Let me just move this so we could see. And we formed SMT here. It might have been here. One of these highs we formed SMT at. Again, I'm not gonna like go back and forth, but we formed SMT, and we had this like low resistance liquidity here, right? We're kind of forming like a crappy uptrend SMT. So I was thinking like, we might, have a low resistance liquidity run and come take this low before bouncing back higher. But, to me, I was like, well, what if, we just took out lunch high, we just took out this high, formed SMT, like who's gonna say we're just gonna wick off of this like we did, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if this is gonna be the start of sell side of the curve, and instead of having this candle, it ends up being boom, like a big displacement candle before we start, running all the way back down. I don't know what's gonna happen. We're starting to approach the end of the day. this is past 3 o'clock right now. I don't really want to hold this trade for much longer. I entered at like 150, so been in this trade for a while. I was up, like 80 points, 75 points. This is a huge ass trade. So anyway, we ended up coming down, and I just jammed my stop right at this low here, because this was my take profit, and I was like, look, we're either going to hold this inverse or whatever and just go run and take buy side, or I'm locking in. This was like $100 here. It's like 50 points or so, yeah. So I was like, look, I'm just locking this in. There's no way I'm letting this start to come down to like 70, 60, 50. There's no shot I can let that happen, especially at the end of the day. Who knows. So I stopped in profit. It ended up wicking up, never even took buy side, and it has since left that still intact. So looking over at ES ended up just being beautiful. Like it took out, this was the low that it had, and ES has just been so much weaker than NQ, so I'm surprised that this even happened. But took out this sell side, same setup pretty much. You had all of this generated buy side, all of that low resistance liquidity. So we came down, we took out these lows, bounced to the upside, and 1 minute fair value gap, filled it to the tick, wicked off. Could have entered anywhere, and it just expanded the rest of the day, right into that buy side level right at the end of the day, and it left all these lows intact as well. So, or I guess it didn't actually, took out that one. So maybe ES was the play on this, but I usually get destroyed when I trade ES. So anyway, this trade that I took, I think this was great. My entry was not really good, but the higher time frame analysis was good. I thought this trade that I took here was good too, and even the re-entry wasn't bad. So I did a bunch of things good, but I should have gotten stopped out at break even. Then this should have been a small loss, like a $20 loss. And then I should have made, my $100. I don't think I really did anything wrong there. Maybe I should have taken it off when I saw SMT. Just being so close to my take profit. Right when you see the SMT, it's like, instead of 77 points, I just take it off at 74, or like sort of down here 70, like whatever, just take it off, right? Because instead I lost 20 points from that. I could have just taken it off up here and been up 140 rather than 100, especially being so close to the buy side level. But I really thought this was just going to get taken since we were so close. So shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? But I got tons of things to work on, but I think the higher time frame analysis was pretty good towards the end of the day, identifying this AMD model. So, still didn't make my money back from the big losing day yesterday, but hey, can't win them all, huh? So I guess going into tomorrow, we got this big 1 hour fair value gap. We'll see what happens in the overnight, but maybe we'll see some sort of buy model to come up to this buy side level. So we'll see. Maybe we'll come back to OTE of this range. Who knows what's gonna happen? So with that being said, hope you guys made some money, and wish you the best of luck tomorrow. If I take a trade, just like usual, I'll see you then. So peace out.